Hi, everyone. Coni Meyers here, and I'm back with another wonderful interview with two amazing people for our Unthinkable Summit. I'd like you to meet Tami Cutsinger and Peter Taylor. Tami, thank you for coming.
Hi, Connie.
Peter, I'm so glad to have you on board with us.
Thank you. Thanks, Connie.
These two people have gone through the process of becoming a CKM advisor. And I wanted to bring them on and talk to them a little bit about why they made that decision and what they plan to do with it. So, Tammy, I know you just got your real estate license. You're waiting for the paperwork, which is ridiculous, but that's another story for another time.
Mhm.
Um, but why did you decide that you wanted to become a CKM advisor?
Uh, Becoming a real estate agent, I really thought that it would really help my business by being able to approach people in my community, my neighbors, with this information about crisis knowledge management and somebody that they could I could be the person they could come to in the event there was something going on, or if they needed help at maybe at their place of business, something like that, and just be looked at as an integral part of the community, and then someone that they might come to, someone who they know they could trust in the event they were buying or selling. So just as business development, I thought that would be really helpful, and it's something that I could get behind.
Hmm. Well, when we were talking here a while ago, you were talking about an incident where there was a fire in your subdivision. Why don't you tell everybody, people about that a little bit?
So within the community, we're a gated community, and we do have our own fire department, and then one outside, not too far away. But within the community, there's a huge RV storage, and there's homes all around it. So a fire had started in it, but to all these, we have all these streets and they're hilly, and there's cars parked on the streets. People take their dogs for walks. Kids are riding their bikes. So this thing burst out at about 2:30 in the afternoon. I happened to be out of town, but people were sending me pictures, and it looked horrendous. It looked horrifying. And I just saw pictures in our community newspaper showing, just looked like mayhem. Like people were just panicking, and they had over 75 firefighters who responded. That's a lot. Gosh, all those trucks and that amount of people going to that one site at one time. That's quite a bit. Be having on this community in here. So, as an advisor, I just see this as they shouldn't have reporting it was mayhem. Today's paper, they said it was handled very well and under control and that type of thing. But I think initially there was so much panic going on. But I think if people attended a CKM seminar or what do I want to call it, just came to a meeting, and listen to it, then they would have a little more comfort level of who's handling it, what the process is of, who's taking care of it. Stay off the road, stay out of the way, check that your home's okay, your family's okay. Put those kinds of things in place, and then let the first responders, the professionals who know what they're doing, just be on the road and taking care of it instead of getting in the way. So anyway, I just saw that as, well, that's something that could really benefit in that instance, or
Right.
in the case something like that ever happens again. If people have this knowledge, they would handle it a lot better and differently.
Well, I think that's a really, really important point because one of the most important parts of preparation is having a good, strong communication plan. So having the ability to be able to have a team, a crisis team for your community, and then having whoever's going to be contacting who and making like a call tree so that people don't panic. They find out what's going on. I
Right.
mean, just think if it were something worse. Just think if it was an active shooter or some other kind of incident, or it was a home that caught on fire and it was spreading to other homes. I
Right.
mean, look, I mean, entire towns have been wiped out in California. So I think putting together a good crisis team for your community and being able to have a strong, I mean, that being the first thing, especially with where you live, being the homes are close to one another. They're kind of on hills, so they're kind of up above one another. I think, and the roads are, you've got street parking everywhere.
There's three ingresses and egresses in this place. There's three, and it takes a while to snake through the community to get to those ways out, because that's it. Unless you have a motorcycle and you can go across the hills, or a boat to get to the other side. There's only
Right.
3 exits out of this community. So, yeah.
So I think you've probably got a good place to start right there. I think that it sounds like they need a little consulting going on.
Right. Yeah.
So Peter, why did you decide to become a CKM advisor?
Well, I had the good fortune of meeting you, and it just seemed to be a topic that is so timely. I'm fortunate that I live in Las Vegas, and we don't have as many natural disasters that we have to prepare for. We've as we've grown, we've taken care of flood problems and some other issues that have occurred here, but man-made is definitely an issue. And as I was learning about CKM advising and just disaster prep, it's something that I know that I am not prepared, and it's eye-opening. I have children, and I worry about their schools, what to do, and it's everything seems to be in preparing for disasters an afterthought. So you have the aha moment, but it's usually aha after it happened. Oh, we need the phone tree. That would have been very helpful if you had that in place before, but we're so reactionary. So this is something that is more and more and more in the news throughout the country, and I think it's something that I could incorporate in my business, and it could help clients, and it could help my family. It can help schools. It's something that I see that should be taught. As they used to several years ago, disaster prep in areas for nuclear disaster, hide under your desk, and, and obviously that's not likely to help you much. However, I see a practical program like this really being instrumental, and unfortunately, every day you turn on the news, there's another reason that this needs to be practiced at home, in the community, in the workplace, and since that is something where I am through professionally, this is a perfect marriage, in my opinion.
Well, thank you. I think one of the most important statistics that people need to hear is that 61% of Americans believe that they are going to be affected by a disaster in the next 3 to 5 years. And 15% are financially prepared. Supposedly 35% have an emergency kit. But most people don't know you need to have 4 emergency kits. And probably those 35% that have an emergency kit, it probably doesn't have the right stuff in it. When I did a training in 2019 before COVID, and there was probably about 30 people in the training. Out of the 30 people, I asked how many had an emergency kit, and there were about 10 that raised their hands. So I went around the room and I asked each of the 10 of them, and all but one out of 30 people, they all said, well, I have an emergency kit, but it needs to be redone because we've taken stuff out of it, and I don't even really know what's in there anymore. And so that really is not going to do you a lot of good. So that 35% is probably not even close to 35% when you really figure out what it is you need. And another statistic that FEMA came out with is that 75% of all businesses that go through some type of a disaster will be out of business in 2 years.
Wow.
So if you have whatever your professional service is, well, let's just take a look at 2020. I mean, the pandemic shut down a lot of businesses that are not going to be reopening. But even if we take the pandemic away, we had natural disasters like no other. We had during July and August, we had 6 different weeks of 6 different kinds of disasters that were either unheard of before, or they were completely rare. Like, for example, We had 2 hurricanes in the Gulf at the same time. That hadn't happened since 1959. We had 30 named storms. That had never happened. We had what's called derecho winds in the upper Midwest, and those are sideways winds, and they did major damage in the Chicago and Wisconsin areas, Indiana, that area did a lot of damage in those areas, and those are very rare. We had what's called a fire nado. Instead of being a tornado in California, it was a tornado made of fire. We had winds that came through the southeast that spawned over, they were hurricane force winds, but it was no hurricane. It spawned over 50 hurricanes, or 50 tornadoes rather, during that period of time. Plus, we had the Gulf of Maine had the dubious honor of having the highest temperature rise of any body of water on the planet. So you take that and you add just the other natural disasters that we had, the fires, we basically burnt up the Western United States. And instead of the average, the most that had ever been burned before in a year in a fire was 2 million acres. 2020, it doubled. It was 4 million acres. And 3 towns in Portland, or in Oregon rather, were destroyed completely. So that is the reason why it's important for people to be aware of being prepared. That's why it's important that people like you and Pete, Tami, go out there and, let people know what they need to do to be prepared. And what happened in your community is a really good example of why it's so critical to make sure that it does really make a difference. So, Tami, what was one of the things that you learned that you did not know, or the thing that kind of surprised you when you were going through the training? Was there anything in particular that kind of stood out?
Oh my gosh, you caught me off guard with that question. Well, some of these statistics, I'm just in California, so I'm just used to, I just know about, we're having more of the fires, that kind of crisis, but to hear that these other, how devastating these other events, natural disaster events are in the other states, how they're impacting the residents there. So I was surprised. You hear about it, but when you've talked about the statistics and percentages, it's pretty mind blowing. And then how many people are at risk, just like what you just talked about. So I think to me that was pretty eye opening.
I think 2021 is just look what happened in Texas. The entire state had ice, and it never happened before. The southeast is being plummeted right now. We're not even in we're starting hurricane season in about a week, but it's like we're already experiencing major disasters and storms. Pretty much the entire United States is going to have some kind of experience so far this year already. And then we're heading into hurricane season, and we're heading into fire season. And it's the worst drought on record. They're saying that 2021 fire season is going to be worse than 2020 was. And that was 4 million acres. So how much worse can it really get before we're really burning up the entire country? And this is until there's something done to reverse the process of climate change. It's going to be more intense. That's what happens. The exposure is more extreme now. So more and more there needs to be people like you that want to be involved in your community, that want to make a difference, that want to help your families. I mean, and just the physical toll, the emotional toll, and then you have the dollar amount toll, is just it's increasing every year, and it's becoming more deadly every year. And then you throw in, so we're talking about natural disasters, right? Then you throw in man-made disasters, and like the power grid incident here. It's like it's unbelievable the things that are happening. That the average right now is $33 billion per year spent on man-made disasters, and cyber attacks are supposed to increase over the next 5 years by $5.2 trillion. So, and then you have, unfortunately, the mass shootings and all of that. It's just, there's a real need for people to know what they need to do, which is why I wanted to do the certification in the first place. So, Peter, when you were taking the class, what was one of the things that stood out to you, or what was one of the things that you took away that you were kind of surprised by?
Well, the statistics, I agree. The statistics were, they're unbelievable. I mean, I hear them now and they're still unbelievable. But the being prepared, the checklists, and what you really need, I think, to be prepared was surprising to me, because I had always had in my mind, I have a few survivalist type friends, and I always thought that they were just a little too on the fringe for me, and they're waiting for the zombie apocalypse to take hold. And now I'm looking at it differently, going, maybe that is more of where we need to go, and just being aware of what our needs will be should something happen, man-made or natural or otherwise. So, and I think having that be more out and center and present, and saying this is really truly what you should embrace, this philosophy of just being aware, that was something that kind of hit me through the course, and something that now I'm taking to heart.
Yeah, I think that the people don't understand what being prepared is really all about. Really, being prepared just means you're resilient. It's actually a very positive. It gives you a positive mindset that all of a sudden it isn't as scary anymore. All of a sudden it's like you know what you're going to do. And a really good example of that is my partner Anna. There was a little bit of a shake in California a few weeks ago, and she said she had her shoes by her bed, her feet were in her shoes, and she had her kit ready to go, and she was ready around the door if she was going to have to, or she was ready to go in underneath the table if she was going to have to. But she said before, she would have been not knowing what to do. She would have jumped out of bed and run around and trying to figure out what to do. And being prepared just means we're resilient. And when we're resilient, we're going to go into automatic mode. We're going to know what we're going to need to do. We're going to know where our papers are. We're going to know where everything is that we need to take. And that's why it's important to have all the different kinds of bags. So a good example of that is the emergency kit, the major emergency kit. You have a whole list of things, and the number one thing is cash. People don't think about that. Number one thing is cash. Then you have to have a grab bag, because you may not be able to haul that one or two duffel bags of your emergency kit to the car. You may need to just get out. So you need to have a grab bag that just has the bare essentials in it. Then, what if you're not at home? How many of us spend our entire day at home? What if we're in our car? And so you need to have an emergency kit in your car. And then you also, if you're working outside of the home, then you need an emergency kit at the office. So those all are critical. People don't understand that. And then if you have kids, you need to have one for each one of your kids. If you have senior citizens, or you have somebody that has a disability, they need to have their own kit, so to make sure that they're, and you have to have a kit for your pets. So if you just take a look at those things, and think about this. So you have all your kits set up. Once a year, you look at them, make sure that anything's expired, or anything you've taken out, you've replaced them. When there is something happen, you're going to know what you need to grab. Right. Then you add that to the plans that you need to have. The parent plan, the kid plan, the communication plan. What are you going to do for your business plan? All those kinds of plans play a key role. But once you have that, you respond automatically, just like a first responder does. Right. So I think that's a really important point. So Peter, how do you plan on using your advisor to help your business?
Well, interesting you should ask. So I really look at what's important to me, and what my network is, and I think that that is an easy area to focus. So like Tami, I have a real estate background, and I have a legal background, and I have school-aged kids. So focusing on schools, education, and making sure they're safe, that's a really priority for me. And then making sure that the schools have some sort of lesson or some sort of plan is in place that they can teach the kids just to take out the to make them aware, to make them it's more than just a fire drill, and maybe even seeing how to get go bags into schools, I think is fantastic. And then the liability, I'd never thought about that or never put it together, but through the attorneys and insurance companies should really be working with small business owners and medium-sized businesses to make sure there is a plan, make sure they can take out and do their part just to mitigate some liability and make sure that their customers and clients are safe should something happen, whether that be man-made or otherwise. Because I think that's you hate to think of the scenarios, but I think we have to face the fact that we all need to be prepared, and it just has to be a part of our society now. So I think those areas are really easy for me to reach out and get involved in and speak with and network with, just so that kind of spread the word. And I think it just will grow organically from there.
Oh, I agree. I mean, the schools are a really important component, and we're working on a program right now to try to put grow bags into the schools. I think that's going to be just an awesome program when we get it all put together. But you have schools, you have churches, you have civic organizations, you have associations, you have first responders. There's a lot of areas to go into to be able to expand and basically find new clients for your business, as well as giving back at the same time. So I'm sure, Tami, yours is all about starting your real estate business, and hopefully that'll be able to happen soon. So what was your ideas about how to start?
We have a community, farmers market, and it has all kinds of other things that people sell there. They have it every Sunday, and and I know that there's a few more around in the area, but maybe be able to check with them to see if it's something I could be there with, the little handouts, the manuals, and hopefully have interact with the people who are attending, start some conversations, and to see who's prepared, if they're interested in learning how to be prepared, that kind of thing. And I know that there's I can put my information in it so that they always have it on hand and can refer to it if they have questions, need anything. And then later, I can be that person they call if they are looking to buy, sell, or they know somebody who is.
Well, I have to tell you, to me, I think one of the biggest benefits of becoming a CKM advisor is, first of all, you're going to be looked at in a very respectful way because you're out there giving back and you're making a difference in the community. So that makes you stand out from anybody else. But also, I mean, who are they going to call then when they want services? They're going to call you. And whether you are a real estate person or you are a plumber, I mean, you're out there. If you're out there involved in your community, but that's why the chamber is so popular. People are giving back. That people are involved, and it's the perfect tool to set yourself apart. By the way, each month we put out additional training. Last month it was Hurricane Preparedness month, so we did stuff on hurricanes, but we also did stuff on droughts. This month, I just finished the video with the interview this morning. June is National Safety Month. So I had the safety lady come, and she did a training for the CKM advisors. That is a video that you can just send out if you want to just send out the video, but you're also going to have the slides that you can go out and do the sessions yourself. So I think it's going to be a very popular event, and like at the farmers markets, talking about Safety Month. What can you do? What are some of the things you can do to be safer? So those are all tools that you should be able to use to help your businesses totally. So any final words, Peter, you'd like to say about becoming a CKM advisor?
Well, I think it's essential. I honestly, and And I say that with sincerity. I think that we need experts in this field in every aspect of our lives, personally and professionally. So this is a great avenue. It's something that you can that has been nice for me, eye-opening, and but something that provides an avenue for the community involvement in such a way that truly these days can't be overlooked anymore. So I really think it's essential.
Tami, what about you?
I agree with Peter. It is very essential, especially with everything we've been talking about. So yeah.
Well, I have to say I'm super excited that you're a part of the CKM advisor group and team, and I think there's going to be a lot of really wonderful things coming out of all this, and I couldn't be happier that both of you are involved. So thank you for taking up a Friday afternoon and coming on and spending some time with me to talk about this. I really appreciate it. So if you want to find out more about CKM advisors, just go to ckmsolutionsgroup.com. And you can learn all about them, or you can reach out to info@ckmsolutionsgroup.com, and somebody will reach out to you and tell you more about it. Talk to you soon. Thanks so much for joining the Unthinkable Summit. Take care now. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.